Welcome to Yeshiva Daf Shir sponsor Lunishbas Amikashon Labas Yitzchok. We're holding Basra Daf Peiches. This is a recording of the shir that was given on Shabbos. Reviewing the shir one more time and a little quicker. Omar Shmuel. Shmuel says, Hanoita Kli min Uman Levakar. Someone who took a Kli from an Uman to check it out, to examine it. There was an oinus in his hand. Chayev. Is Chayev? That's chayav only if there is, the exact sum of money. So you see, when you pick it up, your intention is to take it. We mentioned in the previous shir, the Taisus in Pizarro base brings a machlekes Rishonim. What is the din of the person picking up the kli? Is it a din shoyel? He's borrowing it, so he's responsible. Or is it a din loikeach? It's considered to be that he's buying it, even though he didn't buy it yet, but he's already in the process of buying it. As the Chodim explained based on the Hemshech al Gemara, it's like a Tanai, picking it up. I'm starting to buy it, but tonight I don't change my mind. So that's a machlekes. If you look over here in the Rashbam, when he says Amil de Kitzid Mei, he said this to a Gemara in Ador. Gemara in Ador speaks about there a son-in-law who sends to his father-in-law's house an item, and they has to take it back. So there it says, there the Gemara brings, there has to be Taro Charif. If you look at Rashbam, Hanimil de Kitzid Mei, second line, Ador Mukla Shmuel B'Taro Charifo is a Shar Charif. Everybody wants to buy it. It's a commodity. Everybody's trying to buy it. So you're picking it up. It's your own benefit. Someone else will take it. The seller doesn't need it. So that's what it's considered to be a buyer. So the Rashbam learns that these two sugis, our sugi and the sugi, don't go together. It needs to be kitzid. We have to know the exact amount. And it needs to be tar charif. It needs to be something which is a commodity. Many Rishonim argue and say maybe you don't have to have both. That's what the Ritva brings in the name of his Rebbe. And the Rebbe Nehezel learns in the Rambam that's a machlekes a sugis. Machlekes, the Gemara in Bava, the Gemara in Ador. The Kodev in Hazel, what's the Machlekes? What Toys is brought? Is it din of Loikeach or din of Hashoyah? So if it's a din of Loikeach, so I care about Kitzibnei, I care about the amount. If it's a din of Hashoyah, I care about that Tarach Haifa, that's your own benefit. Something more similar, a story based on this. Gabriel, the Al Beit Tavcho, someone went to the butcher's house. He picked a piece of meat. As he's picking it up, as a partial Mimra Minei. Came a horse rider and took the meat from him. Also, kept in front of a Yemer. Says you have to pay because once you picked it up, it becomes yours. The one says that's when you have kitzi, when you have the exact amount. There's this person who brought pumpkins or gourds to this place called Punaro. Also, people came and started taking the pumpkins from him, and he didn't like it that everybody's taking from him. Also, command of Khan came from Kano. It's not yours. It belongs to the people that bought it. If you have a set amount of money, if not, it's B'Shus Marau B'Shof Agdish. Now, Taisus, when he brings his Gemara as a Rayo, he says, Lokech. Because if he's a Shoyah, why can he be Makdish in his hands? And this goes to Machlekes Rishonim, can you do Ektish in the hands of a Shoyah? So Taisus brings it, he says, I'm quoting the Taisus that Pizarro base. Why can he be Magdish? So he says, don't tell me, so maybe there he didn't do it for Bikur. So it's a discussion over here in the Rishon. Someone takes vegetables from the market. Check it out, put it down. If the is not craning, now why should we have in Meiser? So Rabban explains, talking about here a Amoritz. The cells Amoritz. So when you take from vegetables, your choishish, maybe there was no Meiser. So that's called Mai. You have to do it with Mai. As long as he did not take it, he's not considered to be a buyer. So once he made up to buy it, if he's obligated to give Meiser. He can't give it back. It's his, it's Chav Meiser. If you can't do Meiser, the seller says, I don't think I need to do Meiser. The Amar says, I did Meiser. So why take out the Meiser? Hakei said, Master, do Meiser. And he gives him back the money, whatever it's worth less, because of the Meiser. Because he made up his mind, so he can't give it back anymore. It's like a Safra that once he made up his mind to do something, he follows through, he doesn't change his mind. Look at the Lashon of the Rashban. The Rashban brings, first of all, let's start with the after we should go and believe with the Christ Ma'aseh, and Maya, Philly kites by even if the kid is me, you still give it back. And it's potter. And then here the Chaim explain, because even if you hold it as a koine, it's a tonight, they don't give it back. Give it back, it's all retroactive, it never happened. So Rav Safra, the Koy Kriyushma, Gavra, give you money. He says the whole story of Safra was reading Shema. Someone came and told him, buy it for a certain amount. So he didn't answer. The guy thought the reason he didn't answer, because he wanted to pay more. So he agreed to pay more. Rav Safra said, I'll give you the first amount that I thought in the beginning, because Gomer believed it. So here, once the guy did it, look at the end of the Rashbam, so he was now it's over. So the Mepharshim explain different ways, but one way to understand the pshat is that you can take it, lavakri, you consider to be a lekach, and you have a kaddish, you can always give it back. Until when? Until you say, no, I'm buying it. Here he didn't say it, but he thought it. So that's where you get to the chassid who thought it. Toysir points out, if it's mine, what's the big problem? My serisha, what do you do with my serisha with mine? You're mafresh it, but you don't give it to the lady, you keep it by you. Because you're not sure it belongs to him. And my serisha mutul azoy. What do you do with my serani? You keep it by you. So what's the problem? So Tait says we're talking about my sheni because you have to go to Yerushalayim, that's expensive. And if it's in Grand Shumas Maisa, which is true. So the Mishnah. Asitoin was a wholesaler. Every 30 days he has to clean up his measurement. Well, Abai do once every 12 months. No, opposite. Why? So Rambam explains, the sitoin is someone who does it very often. So it gets more dirty. But Abai says less, so you have to do less. That's Tanakh. Shimon Gamliel says, no. The sitoin is someone who is doing it the whole time, so it never congeals. The Baal Bayis has to do it more often. Chedvoni mekaneach midoisov. The chedvoni is mekaneach the midois pamayim b'Shabbos, twice every Shabbos, because people call he doesn't take out the 3 drops as we learned in previous Mishnah, and there's a lot of residue. He has to clean the weight, the scale, the weights that you use once a week. The scale, I'll call mishkol and mishkol, because there has to be skipul and gets dirty right away. That's all talking about when it's lach. If it's dry, you don't have to because there's no residue that stays on the mishkol. Says the Mishnah of Peches on base, so when you have a weight, now this comes it's a little hard thing to understand. When you have the scale, and you put in the scale one weight, you give the lekach something which weighs the same, you have to allow the weight of this lekach to go down a tefach. We'll see in the Gemara, there's a certain measurement that they have to give a tefach to go down, so you give the lekach more. We'll see in the Gemara, you need to give more to the buyer, more than he actually paid for. If you put the scale exactly the same, what do you do then? Then he adds a little bit. Right? The Rashbam explains that girumi means the addition, the extra. And he does 1 out of 10, we'll see in the Gemara what it means, in liquid and another measurement for dry. If you measure with a lot of weight at once, so don't make smaller weight, and vice versa. Because if you do smaller weight, you let the scale go down, he's gaining more than a bigger weight. And vice versa, the seller loses more. So that's what you have to do, keep the minuk. If limchuk means you put it on the weight, you fill up to the top and not more. Ligdush is you all let it overflow. So again, it all depends on Menega Medina, as we'll see. Second one, how do we know that you need to add to the weight? So tzedek l'shem tzedakah, tzedek mishilcha v'tilma. Give a little bit from yourself. Yaakov even say, look at the next part, if it was exactly the same weight, then you have to give him a little, you have to give him extra if it's the same, if the scale is the same. Yeah, if you have to do it. The one understands when the Pasuk tells you that the scale has to go more. How do you give it the same? Reish is talking about where the minig is to do with the scale. You don't have to do it that way. Even though the Shloki just saved, talk about the end of the Mishnah. He put it in the exact same measurement. Then he gives him extra. I didn't know that. Sorry. Telling him give him a little more. How much is Gerumim? 1 out of 10 for 10, which means 100. The Rashbam is explain how do we know that? Because it says in the Mishnah, Echod le'asar. The correct dictum should be Echad me'asar, 1 out of 10. So it means 1 from 10 for every 10. Now why every 10? Says the places to tell you do only measurements of 10. Only once you have 10, then you do this whole story. So you need to get a certain amount to do it. And then you give him 1 out of 100. To the Mashor, he brings a remez, what's 1 out of 100, that Yitzchok got Kodesh Baruch Hu Mevorach him 100 times. So he goes along a richus because you have to give a Kodesh Baruch Hu 100th. That's the Trumas Meiser, 100th of everything. 10% is the Meiser, 10% of that is a Trumas Meiser, that's 1/100th. That's by Truma. So also for your friend, you have to give some more thing, that's what comes out from the Mashor. So the more, for the lach is 1 out of 10, which means 1 out of 100. For the yovish is 1 out of 20. What does it mean 1 out of 20? What does it say? Now we know it's 1 out of 10 for 10, which is 1 out of 100. And it's 20 for 20, 1 out of 20 for every 20 of yovish, which is 1 out of 400. For the liquid is 1 out of 100. The lach, but the stream the yovish, but the stream is also 1 out of 10 for every 20, or 1 out of 20 for every 10. In other words, it's 1 out of 200. So more take, I'm not sure if the yovish is 1 out of 200 or 1 out of 400. The punishment for someone who misuses his midos is more than a rice. The pasuk says regarding a rice, it says Kitovet Hashem koloseh eile koloseh ovel. That's by Mishko, and by the Arai it says Ki iskol tavois ha'eil also atcharat shliflechem. So there it says eil without a hay. So you have an extra hay. Ben Yard goes on to explain what's the remnants of the hay, but there's an extra hay, so it's worse. Rosh Allah. Why am I sure that eil kosher? I don't know. El means hard, means difficult. The strong people he took. It does say Eile by rice. We found a pasuk that says Eile. It's really to tell you the midas doesn't have chorus. So what's if rice has chorus? The midas doesn't. So why is midas worse? So something where the also have shavet tshuva. There you can do tshuva by rice. By midas you can't do tshuva anymore. Why not? Because if you go into the rabbim, you can't give it back. Even though we said Yasa Behem. So you make something that Rami should enjoy, it's not a full Shabbos, you're not Meshiv. So Tozer asks, 1 second, by rice, we found the morning Chagiga that someone who creates a mamzer, so Uvas lo yichal iska, you can't fix it. Says place in the second answer, yeah, he can't fix the mamzer, but he has a full tshuva. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu only asks him to do tshuva. Doesn't say that he has to fix the mamzer. He has to do tshuva in HaKadosh Baruch Hu when he finished his job. This goes back to what the Sifri Chasidus bring. Once you do tshuva, your maaseh, you don't have to care what the maaseh is. It's nasim schuyos. You have to just take away the rotzer. You have to fix the maaseh. So you have to fix the rotzer. The maaseh is now your responsibility. So in by the mamzer, you create a mamzer, terrible thing. But you do tshuva, you're done. But Gezel, the requirement is that you do, person who's goizel, he needs to fix by paying back. He didn't pay back. Says the Gemara, from an individual who's worse than a gavoya. By an individual, says the Rashbam, it says it says chet right away. And by hekdesh it says it says first of all mal, then chato. So first we explain, simple understanding is because by hekdesh you're not stealing until you do mehila, because everything belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every place belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Shem Shmeitzel, the K'tzais, and the Haggadah brings the pshat like this. By doing something wrong, everybody does something wrong. The tiny is when a person stays with something wrong. So when a person steals from Hashem, beginning is not a chet right away. The problem is when he continues, does mehila, because the second stage now becomes a chet. But by individual, right away it's a chet. That's what the Gemara says over here. Says the Gemara, And now comes the Gemara. This daf is learned in Shabbos Parsha Kisavai, and the Gemara speaks of Parsha Kisavai. Mamish the daf on the Parsha. Come and see the Midah of Kadosh Baruch Hu is like Midas Vosad Adam. Kadosh Baruch Hu Berech Yisrael B'Esrim B'Shtayim B'Kilin B'Shmoyim. Kadosh Baruch Hu did a bracha with 22 letters, and he did a klal with 8. Berech B'Esrim B'Shtayim B'Chukois Ad Kurim Yus. The Kilin B'Shmoyim B'Chukois Ad Timosu Ad Chukois Golo Nafshon. Meaning what? So the Porch of Shalom, most of the Farshim agree, it doesn't mean 22 and 8. It means that you look at the first letter of the brachas, it starts with the letter Aleph. Look at the last letter of the brachas, it ends with the letter Taf. So you have over here, Aleph to Taf. You look at the first letter of the close, that's with the letter Vav. You look at the last letter of the close, you have the letter Mem. Vav Zayin Ches, Tes Yud Chof, Lamed Mem. It's 8 letters. So the beginning then is 8 letters. The Rem is down. That's by Parshat B'Chukoisai. Vilu Moshe Rabbeinu, we are in Parshat Kisavai. Bircha Mishmoyne V'Kilu Mitzvah Shtayim. The bracha has 8 letters from beginning to end. The close is 22. Bircha Mishmoyne, what is it? Says the one that Pitas of Dalef. Mi V'Hoyo Vov Im Shorat Tishma Ad of them till Mem. Vov to Mem. V'Kilu Mitzvah Shtayim. Mi V'Hoyo Im L'Shish V'Vov. Ad Vein Koin ends with the Hey. Vov till the Hey back. That is the 22. The close 22. The bracha is 8. The Maharal does want to come and say that the close, the brachas do divide to 22 and 8. Let's see what to say. But the Pashup Shah means is the letters. Now, what's the idea that you have over here 22 by Kadosh Baruch Hu, by bracha, 8 by Klolo, and the opposite by Moshe? So Maharal explains that this the Marshal goes in a similar idea, that Kadosh Baruch Hu is Be'el Yonim. That is what? That is Chavbeis as a full creation. The world was created with Chavbeis Oisius. So, Be'el Yonim, and now, one more thing, in Shemayim comes all bracha. Klal doesn't belong to Shemayim. In the Oretz, it's Klal. The Oretz has bad things. In order to have good in this world, you have to connect to the world above. The number 22 represents a full creation, a full Metzias. The number 8 represents connection of Shemayim to Oretz. So he says like this. By Kadosh Baruch Hu is Kivyochel B'Shamayim. So what is the main thing Kivyochel Metzias that's around the Gilui Kadosh Baruch Hu? The bracha. So the bracha is Chavbeis Yisiyas Metzias Shlema. The Klala is not. It's just that where this world connects to the world above. Sometimes the Kadosh Baruch Hu Kivyochel has to be mashpia bad to this world, or allow bad to come and not bracha. Minei Shefa. So that's the letter 8. 8 letters, the connection of this world to the world below. By Moshe Rabbeinu, the opposite. Where's Moshe Rabbeinu living in this world? So the Metzias of this world is Klal, that's 22 letters. The bracha is to come above, that's 8 letters. That's why it's 8 and 22. Now, just to mention, Tais mentions over here that the 2 hours of this will end. Number 1 is that Tais mentions over here that in Rabbeinu Nisim, they said, that Parshas Nitzavim also has clause. That's what we read before Rosh Hashanah. It says, Tosi, you see in our Gemara, we're talking about the clause of Kisavai. It ends with the words, Koine. That's Kisavai. Or it doesn't mention the clause of Nitzavim. So, Tosi argues and says we do Nitzavim to be a break between the clause and Rosh Hashanah. There's a mocker to what Sifrei Hasidus brings. The Shabbos before Yom Tov is part of Yom Tov. So, Parshas Nitzavim is the Shabbos that it's a Gedoma to Rosh Hashanah. But the Rambam says, similar to Rabbeinu Nisim, he says there's 3 brisos. B'chukoisai, Kisavai, and Nitzavim. So what's Pshat? How do we answer to this question from our Gemara? So the Chorah goes with the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon explains, the Parashat Kisavai is Am Yisrael as a whole getting Klal. Am Yisrael as a whole, they know everything will be okay. And that's what it ends, when we get the Parashat Nitzavim, it's Atem Nitzavim Kulchem, says Rashi, don't worry so much, don't worry. Parashat Nitzavim is the individual that leaves the Klal. He gets the punishment. So he made according to the Grol. The Klal to Am Yisrael ends in Parashat Kisavai. Parashat Nitzavim is also Klal. That's what Tichel Shor Klal said. We want it to be before the end of the year, but it's not part of Kisavai. It's a separate bris on its own. Okay, more about that in the Shor Machshava and Daf. We just ended with one Ha'ara, and we mark this in the Shor Machshava. And this Gemara is mashra very much. Parashas Kisavai is worse than Mechukaisai. 22 letters. Chassidus brings over here the Parashas Kisavai is by Sheni. It doesn't have no end. While Parshas Mechukaisai has a, and therefore it's not so bad. How does this fit with the Gemara in Megillah from Dalaf with base? The Gemara says clearly that Kisava is more lenient. That's why you can do a half second, the bracha in the middle. A person can do another Aliyah in Kisava. We don't know it that way, but that's what you do. How does it fit with these two words together? So we'll see. We'll talk about it more in length, Shor Machshav Nadav. But just to mention that the pshat comes out that the Parashat Kisova is close, very close, but embedded in it is all brachas. That's what Chazal say in Sefer HaZohar. So yes, it is close. It's terrible. It's worse. But it's mizgalit. It's hidden underneath the brachas. So that's why you can stop in the middle when you do Aliyah. But it's still worse than the other one. More about that in the Shor Machshav on the Daf. And with this we'll end, and we'll start the next Daf, Hashem, from these two dots. Kol Tov.